Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Comblouzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities. Today's webinar features Halcones Precious Metals. Halcones is a publicly traded Canadian exploration company focused on gold, silver, and copper exploration. The company's main project is the Carachapampa Project in the Maricunga Belt in Chile, which comprises 12 contiguous mining concessions with a total area of just under 2,900 hectares. The project is prospective for high sulfidation epithermal mineralization, and the company is currently in the midst of a 5-hole drill program targeting greater depths than prior drilling. Today, I have with me on the webinar Ian Parkinson, who's the Chief Executive Officer at Halcones. Good to have you with us today, Ian.
Hi, thanks, Taylor. Appreciate your time.
So the format of today's webinar will be comprised of 2 parts. In the first, Ian will provide an introduction to Halcones and then update you on the latest developments on the ground. And then in the second part, we'll take your questions live. So please send us your questions using the chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. And I'll note that you can type your questions in at any point throughout the presentation. To start, we'll handle the disclosures and then get into it. So for Halcones Precious Metals, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the Halcones corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for Halcones-specific disclosures. So with that out of the way, I'll turn it over to Ian to discuss Halcones and what you have to look forward to with the company.
Great. Thanks, Taylor. So as Taylor said, Halcones Precious Metals, we are a TSX venture-listed company. We've been public since 2022. We went live through an RTO. As Taylor mentioned, I will be making some forward-looking statements. Disclosures, disclaimers can be found on our website. Our share structure, we've got about 151 million shares outstanding basic, and then almost 200 million shares on a fully diluted basis. Quite a bit of insider management insider ownership of 19%. The rest is predominantly retail and high net worth. Management team, very straightforward. Obviously myself, Taylor gave a pretty quick introduction. I come from a technical background originally, born and raised in Sudbury, went to work for Falconbridge early in my career before turning to Bay Street 15, 16 years ago. But when I was at Falconbridge, came close to some of their exploration professionals, including Bern Arsenault, who's with me in this venture. David Gower has been involved in this story as well. So a lot of the behind the scenes team is some of the old Falconbridge exploration team from South America. The name Halcones pays homage to that. It's Spanish for falcon. Never forgetting one of Canada's great mining companies. Moving on. So like I said, we went live, we went public in the autumn of 2022. I'm going to assume our share price looks very similar to a lot of other junior explorer cos in the market. We've had a little uptick in the last day or so since our news that we released yesterday was publicized. We'll get into those details in a couple of minutes, but we've been basically trading between a market cap of $8 to $12 million for the last several months. Board of directors quite strong. So Larry Guy is with us. He's our chairman, and then we've got a slate of independent directors, as you'd expect. So getting into the project itself. So Carachapampa is located in the world-class Maricunga Belt, as Taylor mentioned. The Maricunga Belt can be divided into at least 2 halves. There's a third emerging trend farther south. But the epithermal district to the north is where we're located. We are surrounded by giants. We're hunting for giants in giant country, simply put. The epithermal gold district to the north tends to be a little bit higher grade, smaller volumetric deposits. To the south, you get more of the porphyry dominant deposits. But again, these are household names, so to speak, within the mining space. Caspice, Surf Sally to the south. We've got Nova Esperanza is adjacent to us. Kinross is La Coipa. We definitely have a deposit model and a signature that we think we're looking for, and that's helped inform our drill program that we're in the middle of as we speak. So focusing a bit more on the project itself. Carachapampa is located about 180 kilometers away from the mining center of Copiapó. It's a mining town, full stop. It's your gateway to Lundin's Candelaria, several other assets in the area. The one benefit that our project, or one of the benefits our project has over other exploration plays in the area is we've got very good road access. So from Copiapó to the asset, it's a couple-hour drive, but it's effectively a trans-Indian highway. We could theoretically work the project 12 months of the year. We're not going to at this stage. We're really only focused on the Indian summer period. But if we make a material discovery and there's an initiative to drill this 12 months of the year, we can absolutely do that reasonably easily from Copiapó. Deposits in this area are effectively a big silica replacement system. That's the same signature we have at Carachapampa, very similar to Nueva Esperanza and Solaris Norte. Four targets on the project package itself. We're still doing prospecting and grassroots work while we're drilling off two of the targets. Recent drill highlights from earlier in the year, which really got us excited, was 2.5 grams per ton gold and a nice silver kicker over 10 meters. And that was from hole 12. These are quite shallow. This is only 60, 70 meters below surface. It's oxide material as well. So it is definitely worth us following up on this. That's where we got back to work just about a month ago. And the results we put out yesterday from hole 15, following up in the same area, was 3.9% copper and 0.2 grams per ton gold over 8 meters from hole 15. I'll get into the details as to why this copper is significant, not just from a grade perspective, but from a geochem perspective and what it may be telling us about the deposit model. So again, focused on a bit more detail. The Carachapampa project has 3 volcanic domes in the property package. These are important. Most of the major deposits in the vicinity are associated with volcanic domes. We share the same structural corridor that hosts Nueva Esperanza up to the northwest. La Coipa would just be off to the southwest of this map. We've got 4 target areas within the property package. We're focused on the 2 in green on this map in front of you, the northwest target. That's where we've hit the highest grade to date through our drilling. The central target, again, a very, very prospective area that returned a little bit over 1 gram per ton over 11 meters from initial recon drilling that we did earlier in the year. So the focus is really on the northwest and the central. The Falda target and the El Indio target are prospective. They're interesting, but at this point in time, we've got to focus on where we know we're hitting decent grade. So effectively, we're just focused on the northwest and the central. We'd like to get to Falda and El Indio at some point, but that's realistically going to be a late 2024, maybe 2025 initiative. So really what we're doing is we're unlocking Carachapampa. We think we've got a deposit that looks very similar to the neighbors. We've got a playbook that we're following. We're using a lot of the same techniques that led to the discovery of these notable neighbors. Again, we're adjacent to Nueva Esperanza, which is almost a 2 million ounce gold equivalent deposit. La Coipa is just off our southwestern border. Again, that is a more than 10 million ounce deposit if you look at its entire life cycle. So, and Solaris Norte, which is Goldfields, effectively commissioning production as we speak. So again, we are in a district that's notable for giant deposits, and we're hunting for one ourselves. So the early 2023 results, this is, I'm going back in time, but we put these results out in late April. This is a very, very short drill program. It was only 7 holes. It was to test the northwest target and the central target. We hit the central target first in this scenario, then went up to the northwest and went back to the central. 3 of those holes returned results greater than a gram a ton. It was only 1,500 meters, 38.5 meters of those were greater than a gram a ton. So definitely a geologic success. We think we're on to 2 potential deposits. Again, incredibly early stage, but we're following up on this work as we speak. And the highlight being that 2.75 grams over 10 meters that we hit during the early drill program. So this is the northwest, just a section through the northwest target. We hit the grade I was talking about earlier, but what really got us intrigued, and I'm going to turn the pen on here and highlight something. This area to the bottom of the drill hole of hole 12 is a section that returned anomalous copper that got us quite intrigued. So we hit 2 meters, 0.5% copper. I know the audience is not going to get overly excited about that, but when you start looking at the geology of these high sulfidation epithermal deposits, copper is often associated with it. What really got us excited about this copper that we hit was the fact that it was sorry, I hit the mouse here. It was covellite. So the copper mineral copper mineral species that we found at the bottom of this hole is a copper mineral that's often highly associated with high sulfidation epithermal deposits. It's a signature for a temperature environment and an environment for emplacement that often leads to high sulfidation epithermal deposits. So yes, it's a great hit point for us in the fact that it's decent grade over a modest width. But the telltale sign of this is the fact that it's covellite, and that's leading us to a better understanding of where we may be within a theoretic model. We followed that up with our first drill hole from this campaign. So now we move to hole 15. These are results we put out earlier this week. Hole 15 was designed to basically undercut hole 12 and test this copper anomaly and see what we find below it. So we hit copper in essentially the same spot vertically, about 60 meters behind hole 12, returning 3.91% copper and 0.2 grams per ton gold over 8 meters. It's only about 151 meters down hole. So this was very important for us to understand where we think we may fit within this this deposit model. And then coincident with that copper is a whopping arsenic anomaly. So we have, again, a geochemical signature, an alteration signature, and the presence of covellite with anomalous gold that tells us we are hopefully in the vicinity of a high sulfidation epithermal gold deposit. Again, early stage, drilling is ongoing, but a lot of smoke and some very, very decent copper grade with a decent gold kicker at the same time. So in the Andean winter, our summer, we had our team in the field doing a lot of colluvial sampling work. So colluvial sampling in this area has been very successful in leading prospectors and geologists to economic discoveries. La Coipa, you could argue, was a geochem discovery before it was ever drilled. We're seeing a very, very strong geochem anomaly associated with the area of focus for us. For background levels of geochem in this area, so you're adding arsenic and lead ones together, would be 35 to 50 ppm. We've got a whopping geochem anomaly well over 1,400 ppm. So hole 12, hole 15 are up in this area. We've just recently completed drilling holes 16 and 17. Core's in the lab, we're waiting assays on that. Our thinking is we'll be moving focus in this general direction. The geochem and what we're seeing in the core is pulling us to the southeast, which is coincident with the geochem anomaly that we've identified. Just some footnotes for you. Assays are a little slow in coming back. We're expecting to receive the the remaining assays over the next 4 to 6 weeks from the 5 holes that we've drilled. We're just wrapping up drilling as we speak. We're going to take that data and use that to inform the next phase of our exploration program. One thing that we learned from the work that we did early in the year is that our targets were a little too shallow. So a lot of all the holes that we were drilling in this campaign are about 300 meters in length, which is basically double the depth from our previous campaign. So again, I think this is work that's important. It doesn't generate a lot of flashy press releases, but for a self-confessed geology nerd like myself, it's very important to understand which geology or which mineral species we're dealing with. So the presence of copper, which came back from the lab, told us, wait a minute, there's something anomalous here. But until we did the thin section work to better understand which copper species or mineral we had, that's really what changed our thinking. So when we did some thin section work in country, understanding the copper mineral was indeed cobalite. It set us down this path to better understand the theoretic geologic model that we're chasing. And again, cobalite has been proven or found in both hole 12 and hole 15. So thinking of sort of rounding out that thesis. And if you did your own literature review, you will find numerous references to cobalite amongst a lot of the regional deposits with a similar geology to ours. The other thin section work that we did was understanding the true alteration minerals. So again, there is a signature, there's a playbook for these high sulfidation epithermal deposits. There's certain types of minerals that you want to see within the alteration. So we see a lot of alunite, we see a lot of embedded quartz fragments, etc. So this again just helped us round out our thesis to exactly what type of deposit we are looking for through the drill bit. So if you take that thin section work and our understanding of what we've drilled and drape that over a conceptual high sulfidation epithermal model from the district, you get something like that looks like this. And again, this is just simply it's a conceptual model. But if you look at what we found in hole 12 crossed all the acidic tuff, the breccia units that you would expect in this type of environment. We hit one of these vertical or subvertical structures. That's likely where we got the 2.75 grams over 10 meters came from one of these vertical structures, we believe. But we only just got deep enough and hit the cobalite, which sometimes is a blanket on the outside of the target alteration package that we're looking for. So again, this is just helping us place ourselves where we may be within a conceptual model. Hole 7, which was drilled in the latter part of 2022, hit a large unit of silicification, no material grade and some anomalous gold, but nothing to really arm wave about. So we think that could have conceptually been on the flank or on the margin of one of these types of systems. And then again, this was key for doing the thin section work and really understanding the geology has helped us potentially place ourselves within this deposit model. So moving to the central target. So again, like I said to you in one of the previous slides, we've been focused on the northwest, which that was just what I was just speaking about. Now we move to the central target. Central target in our drilling early in the year returned, I'd say, a significant result, which is just over a gram per ton gold, 17 grams silver over 11 meters from 81 meters down hole. So again, a very shallow target. We're applying the same methodology to the central target as we move forward. We did a similar thin section analysis. We think hole 8 potentially just wasn't deep enough. It hit some of these vertical structures that I highlighted on the previous map. But theoretically, we didn't drill it deep enough. So we're looking, again, to test this theory at depth with the ongoing drill program. The backdrop of all that, with the backdrop of drilling, while we had an opportunity this summer before the drills were mobilized, we expanded our colluvial sampling program. That's going to be something we continue to do going forward. We also managed to fly some additional lines of IP. About 25 line kilometers of IP were flown. What you're looking for through the IP is resistivity and chargeability. So we're seeing resistivity anomalies, which theoretically could be associated with silica flooding. So we are getting an IP signature that is coincident with what we're looking for, and also backed up by the colluvial sampling that we've done at the same time. So going to the other two projects, or other two targets, the other two targets within the same project area. Mina del Indio, in its own right, definitely justifies some follow-up. We did some geophysics, some trenching, some grab samples in 2022, just after going public, around the time that we went public. Definitely anomalous gold, anomalous silver, with again elevated pathfinder elements associated. So a decent target in its own right, but again, we're like a lot of other junior companies struggling for capital. We're focused on the two targets where we've had the best results. I would love to get to this target at a later date, but it's going to have to wait. And same thing with Falda. Falda is another potentially high-grade target. There's evidence of past very, very small-scale past operating historical work. We did some channel sampling. We effectively sampled what the old timers or past workers left behind. Moderate grade, 3.5, 4 grams per ton over select widths in the areas that they did not mine. So, like I said about the previous target, this is a target in its own right. We'd like to get to it, but it's going to have to wait. So what we're doing right now, and this is just to wrap up the presentation, focused on the central and the northwest, undercutting the work that we did earlier in the year, testing these anomalies deeper, and really paying close attention to grade plus the geochem to help us vector into where we hope higher grade feeder potential may lie. It's these types of deposits are not just about the target metal grade. You've got to pay close attention to the geochem and the pathfinder elements to really help you vector into where the most potential lies. Our work schedule, we're about halfway through this, I guess, as we speak. Like I said earlier in the presentation, we did IP and a bunch of colluvial work earlier in September. Those results we got back quite quickly. They helped inform our ongoing drill program. Camp was mobilized late September into October. The drillers had a very productive couple of weeks. We're just wrapping up 5 holes of drilling. Assays are expected to be coming back over the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to take that information and help inform or plan our next phase of exploration at Carachapampa. And that is it. I'd like to thank you for your time.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Ian. Great presentation. So now we'll turn to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And just a reminder to everybody on the line, you can type your question into the chat box at any time. So with that said, we do have some that have come in already. So we'll start off here, just kind of going in order. We have one person just wondering if you have any plans for US listing.
Not at this stage. I would love to I'd love to have that conversation after we make a major discovery, but I think we're a little bit too early stage for a US listing at this point.
Perfect. Another one here, congratulations on the company's early success. Given the huge potential for a major discovery, how did this project come to you and your group, and or how was this missed by others in the past?
Yeah, great question. It's a multi-part answer to that question. We've got boots on the ground. Vern Arsenault, my CEO, lives in Mendoza, Argentina. Our geologists are locals. We do have visibility, I'd say, into potential projects that is unique to us. So I think that is part of it. This project specific, I'm not sure if I'm answering the question that the asker really wants to know, but this area has got a lot of alluvial cover. So it's an area that is difficult to prospect in traditional methods. So you need to get out of the truck and you need to walk the ground and you need to try and find outcrop where you can. We did some trenching, trying to get through the alluvial cover to get down to the bedrock. The alluvial cover I'm talking about is not super thick. It's a couple meters, but it is prohibitive enough for traditional prospecting. So that's why we've had to rely on the geochem and the geophysics to get a picture for what's happening below the alluvial cover. The alluvial cover is much less as you move to the west of where we are. So that's effectively it.
Great. Okay. So I guess you talked about the recent drill results, especially particularly that copper intercept. I guess just taking a step back, maybe not here necessarily since it's very early days, but what kind of scale can copper have in these types of deposits? Like usually people think about the silver and the gold for these epithermal high sulfidation deposits. What impact can?
Yeah, a lot of these deposits are polymetallic in nature. So you can there's some world-class deposits just to the south that have a distinct copper, gold, silver footprint. So they can be tens of millions of ounces gold equivalent. How you split that equivalent portion, it remains to be seen. The fact that we're seeing cobalite though versus chalcopyrite is more of a temperature signature, right? So if chalcopyrite associated with maybe a more porphyry-rich part of this type of deposit, we haven't seen that. We've seen cobalite, and a lot of the iron minerals that we've seen have been pyrite with some anomalous copper, but not a lot. So it remains to be seen. Early days, we're only we've only released assays from 15 holes. So, we are absolutely looking for a world-class deposit. That's why anybody is in this game, right? We are a team of people who get up every day because we want to make a discovery. And I think we're in a world-class belt with a footprint that's big enough to make a world-class discovery. Now we just need to get to work and do it.
Right. Okay. And with that, I guess, how are you thinking of I guess, strategy-wise, targeting different target areas on the project? Are you going where there's kind of where there's been the most work? Are you going to do a little bit here and there, try some earlier targets, or is it, how are you approaching that?
It's going to be, I think it's going to be success-driven, partially. The grade that we put out yesterday, 3.9% copper over decent width with a gold kicker, and then what that could mean from a bigger picture perspective, that needs follow-up without question. That intercept has to be followed up. I'm going to wait and see what happens in the central target. We're seeing some very encouraging stuff so far in core, but again, nothing's come back from the labs yet. And then there's more land to explore. So this is a capital intensive industry. We both know that. So it's going to be success driven and access to capital driven as well. We've got two targets on the property package already that we haven't had a chance to drill. There's some other stuff we're looking at regionally as well. So based on what we know today, we've got to follow up on the northwest, fingers crossed on the central, and then go from there. The main thing for me is approximate drilling costs for us are about $350 a meter all in. Okay, so if I'm drilling 300 meters times $350 a meter, these holes are, call it $100,000 just direct drilling costs. Never mind assaying, logging, etc. So we've got to be very, very careful with our capital. So I don't want to be running too far ahead with the drill bit without having the assays back from the lab. So I think our approach is going to be drill, compile information, plan the next phase, and so it's going to be campaign after campaign until we're onto something very significant and we've got capital that can effectively fund a much longer report.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So I guess on that front, in terms of just the current cash position in the treasury, where are you sitting at right now?
So we did a $3 million raise over the summer months. So that paid some bills that were outstanding at the time, and that's effectively paid for the ongoing drill program. So our financials will be out probably next week. But that raise was done and put in place to follow up on the work we did in February, March, that was released in April. And like I said, you can sort of do the math yourself. 5 drill holes, about 300 meters each, $350 a meter, plus camp costs. This is an expensive business.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Just wondering in terms of, I guess, on the ground and engagement with locals, Indigenous groups, what does that look like for you where you're located?
Yeah, nobody lives up here. It's a dry, desolate place. There are some communities down valley that we would basically have to drive past on our way to the site. But if you're talking about immediate exposure to the Carachapampa, almost 3,000 hectares, very, very, very limited, just very limited exposure, really. So no, we're in a good spot, and early stage exploration plays in Chile are quite. They move quite well from a permitting perspective. So we're well under any sort of thresholds where we would be required to do additional work to get additional drill permits. So we're operating. We've only utilized, I think, a dozen drill pads so far. So we've got plenty of runway before we would need to do more comprehensive environmental work, et cetera, if we get a bigger drill program permit.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I don't see any other questions that have come in. So maybe I'll just do a final call for any last questions. And in the meantime, maybe if you just want to kind of give the final pitch or leave a final thought for the viewers.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Look, we're excited about what we've seen. The grade speaks for itself. 3.9% copper over 8 meters with an anomalous gold associated with it. For me, as I said earlier, as a self-confessed geology nerd, I'm really excited about the pathfinder elements that we're seeing associated with the grade. We're seeing well over 100 meters of the right alteration, the right pathfinders. So, I think the evidence is showing up. And remember, geologists are effectively detectives. What we're seeing here is telling us that we may be close to the right type of system that we're looking for. Again, we need to do the work, but the grade that we're seeing, the alteration we're seeing, the pathfinders are definitely justifying continuing to work on the Northwest, and stay tuned on Central. The core is in the lab. We're quite hopeful. Fingers crossed. We get some joy from that core over the next few weeks.
Great. Okay. So yeah, I don't see any other questions that have come in, so we'll leave it there. But it certainly sounds like you're off to a good start, Carachapampa.